Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yes, it's called the Falcon, not Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Which is kind of interesting because I never knew that because everybody just calls it Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But this show has finally dropped because it was supposed to drop last year, but of course because of the you-know-what, it got delayed several times because of the virus. But now it's finally out, and I'm so happy because, like, when it comes to MCU TV shows, there's only 4 I really care about. WandaVision, this show, Hawkeye, not because of the guy who plays Hawkeye in the MCU, because that dude is really boring, but because of Haley Steinfeld. I just love her as an actress. And Moon Knight. Unlike WandaVision, I knew this show was going to be action-packed, and I knew it was going to be kind of more like a spy drama thriller type action show, which I'm not really into those kind of shows, although I do like Person of Interest, Luther. However, when it comes to this very first episode, I'm kind of like, eh. And the reason for that is because I just kind of had like mixed reviews. Like, I love the action, and I love the action with the Winter Soldier when he was when they showed the flashback. But other than that, I was kind of just bored because the dialogue in this kind of just like slowed it down to like a very slow pace, and at times I just kind of got boring. But the dialogue necessarily wasn't bad. It was just kind of just slowed everything down. The dialogue was great for the fact of character development because when it comes to both Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's not really too much we really know about them. We know a little bit more about Bucky because he's been explored a whole lot more in the MCU movies. But when it comes to Sam Wilson, the Falcon, a lot of people don't know nothing about him. Like in the MCU, it's established that he's a military soldier, but that's about it. And, for the most part, Falcon in the MCU is really just Steve Rogers' sidekick. Like, he's Captain America's sidekick. Like, I've never looked at him as like his own self-sustained hero in the MCU. Which is weird because in the comic books, he's completely different. In the comic books, he's his own hero. And he partners up with Captain America from time to time, and then later on becomes the new Captain America. But in the MCU, he's extremely underdeveloped. He's kind of like Cyborg from the theatrical Justice League movie, where he's just there to throw punches and he doesn't really have no character arc. There's one thing I have noticed about this TV show is that, like, instead of combining both these heroes together, they could have had their own show, because you could have had the Bucky show being all about redemption and trying to, like, cope with his brainwashed life that he had in the past and trying to like move past that. And then you could have had a show about like the heroics of Falcon and what it means to be not only a hero but a military officer, and trying balancing both like lives and stuff. So I really don't understand why they combine both and everybody else is getting their own series. Well, Wanda and Vision got combined too, but still. Now, one thing I've noticed right off the bat when I first saw the trailers and then I later saw the show was Sam's new costume. It looks cheap. Very, very cheap and very, very loose fitting. Okay, I know this is a TV show budget and everything, but when we saw in WandaVision, their suits look top notch. And Vision's suit looked like it came straight from the movies. Falcon's suit look like it's been remade very, very, very cheaply. Cause this is what his suit looks like from the movies. You see like how more like sturdy and more like, just more like better it looks. Now here's his suit from the show. You see how wrinkly it is and how loose it is and how the material looks like fabric? I don't know why they did that. Maybe his movie suit is harder for him to move in, which that's probably the case. Because in a lot of movie suits, they try to make it look so realistic and so fancy that they make it like uncomfortable to move in. So I've never really cared for him. And I'm hoping that this show makes me care about him, but so far it's not really doing a good job. Besides from like the action and stuff. But like it's nice to see that he's human with the whole like family type thing. But it's kind of like I still just don't care for him. Like I still just see him as kind of like, Captain America's sidekick. Now, speaking of Captain America's actual sidekick from the comic books, um, Bucky fares slightly higher, but not by much. Like they had some really good like emotional scenes with him that's really making him feel more human because he hasn't really been human since Captain America the Winter Soldier. But like, it was nice to see those like human traits come back in him, and he's willing a little bit more when pushed to have like a normal life other than Steve did in the MCU. My only problem with him in the MCU was kind of like when he was first established, he was pretty cool. He was like Steve's little buddy. He showed him the ropes and stuff like that. And he was always there for him, even when Steve was like a scrawny little dude. And then when he became the Winter Soldier, I liked that. The only problem was in in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, I never really viewed him too much as a threat because we really didn't see him do too much like killing bad assassin type stuff. Like we saw him fight with Captain America, which was pretty cool. But other than just that, he was just some brainwashed dude. And it's kind of like he really didn't live up to the hype of what he was in the comic books or the hype that Natasha talked about. Because this dude is supposed to be like one of the best trained like assassins in like the whole world, and he's a super soldier with this robotic arm. But in the movie, he does some cool fight scenes, and really that's just about it. And then in Civil War, he was more like a kind of like a troubled hero type person, or just like a person who just wants to be left alone. He was really cool in Civil War. Like I like his action scenes in Civil War. And I like how he partnered up with Captain, and how they, how he tried to have like not necessarily a normal life, but he was acting more like human. Like he was acting more like he did in the first Captain America movie. But it was one of those type of arcs that was kind of like a little too rushed. It would have been nice to have more like build up to him first being evil, staying evil for a good while, and then Cap bring him to the good side. And so I just really don't like how it was rushed, and it was rushed only because it was a movie. So the thing about Bucky is that he's a combination of Dick Grayson and Jason Todd from the comic books. When it does the whole like World War II stuff, being Cap's sidekick in the comics, he's more the Dick Grayson kind. In the 20th century, he's more of the Jason Todd Red Hood persona. So I never really felt like in the MCU he kind of lived up to like both those Robins' hype. Now onto the show. It starts off with this amazing aerial battle. And when I say amazing, I mean it is amazing. Like even some of the movies don't do this justice. Cause like in the Iron Man movies, he doesn't really fight in the air that much when he's in his suit. Like he does some impressive stuff, but it's never like for too long. In the very first Avengers movie, they had great aerial battles. In Civil War, they had great aerial battles. But like, other than that, I've never really, even in, what was it, WandaVision, like their fight at the end was cool, but like nothing compared to this opening battle in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like even like the one thing about like the Arrowverse, with the Arrowverse, it's like the Flash is the better show, but Supergirl and now Superman and Lois have the better like CGI. And even when they do like aerial fight scenes, theirs are better than Barry running around the city because it just looks like he's in a video game. And it's kind of like now with the Superman show, his aerial battles was at that time the best I've ever seen, like on TV for like a low budget show. It just looked so realistic. That was on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. When I say this fight was amazing, it was amazing. Like, all it really was just Falcon flying around. It's people trying to shoot him. But it was just so good. And the way he used his wings was so realistic. And the way he used them as a shield was just so much better than we seen him in what was that movie? The opening of the Infinity War movie. It was just top notch. And the thing about the visuals, I truly believe the visuals was a combination of CGI and practical, like realism type stuff. 'Cause it really looked like they was flying in like the air and their little parachute like wing things. So he's trying to get back this US soldier that this terrorist group has, and is led by this dude that we haven't seen since the Winter Soldier movie. And that's George Backrock. And he's known as Backrock the Leaper. And he's played by none other than GSP, George St-Pierre from the UFC. And I've been wondering what happened to that character. I just assumed he was just like one off, you know? But no, he's back. And the thing is, so when all the bad guys blow up, Backrock is the only one that is able to survive. And the thing about him, Backrock the Leaper, is that he doesn't have no superpowers. Never in the comic books and never in this show. So that's a good thing. He just has like hand-to-hand combat skills and some weird leaping ability, which he kind of does a little bit. They show in with George St-Pierre, like he'll leap one time before like he'll attack and stuff. So that's kind of cool. He doesn't wear his costume like in the comic books, which I don't know how I feel about that. For right now, he's better just the way he is, but it would be nice if he had like a costume, just not the one in the comic book. So of course, Sam saves the military dude, and while they're down in the other country, something weird. Okay, you know how in the MCU, Red Wing is like android type bird type thing, like a drone. Because in the comic books, it's an actual Falcon that he has a telepathic link to Sam. But they're shown that Sam is tinkering around with Red Wing, and he's trying to fix him. Now, I'm curious, where did this come from? Because in the MCU, it has never been shown that Sam Wilson is a techno wizard and can fix stuff. And not only is he fixing stuff, but he's fixing stuff that's a combination of military tech, probably shield tech, and of course, Stark tech. And Stark tech is like really, really, really advanced. Like you have to be either Tony Stark, Reed Richards, or Doctor Doom in order like to figure out exactly how to like work his stuff. So this is kind of weird. And I guess they wanted to show that he has some smarts, but they don't have to show that. Like he's a military dude to show him beating people up. I know in the last animated series he was a techno wizard. In the comic books, I don't think he was, but you know, whatever. And so like, you know, the military dude that he said, you know, he's looking for this terrorist organization called the Flag Smashers. And you know, he'll need some help and stuff. I forget what Sam tells him, but Sam doesn't help him. He ends up leaving. I think he gives him some advice. Now, the Flag Smashers. I don't think they're a terrorist organization. Well, I think, yeah, they are. Or maybe they're not. They might be a terrorist organization in the comic books. I do know they're led by a dude by the name of Flag Smasher. His name is Carl in the comic books. Now in this show, it hasn't been revealed who Carl is, but they gender bent him into a woman. And so now she's the leader of this organization and the Flag Smasher. The only problem I have with this is that the actress who plays Flag Smasher, and the thing I have a problem is that she's 22 years old and she's pretty skinny. And when I think of like a terrorist leader, I don't think of a 22-year-old anything, you know? And so it's kind of weird that this 22-year-old female is kind of like the head of like this bit bad, like, this terrorist organization. And it's something I've noticed Marvel has been doing lately. Like, I remember they did that with that Miles Morales video game where they had the leader of that terrorist group be female also and very young. So I guess that's the route they're going in. So after Sam gets back to the States, he's thinking about Cap. He's holding his shield. And then he gives a nice little speech telling how Cap chose him to be the next Captain America, but he still has reservations. He still doesn't think he should take up the mantle and decide he donates the shield to a museum. And the head of the military dude's like, this was the right choice. Now, I'm sorry, but like, if Captain America handpicks you, and I mean he handpicks you to be the next like Captain America, you take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just a big honor. So for him to like, be all like, oh, I don't want this, I just want to be the Falcon instead, it's kind of like you can be both. That's how he was in the comic books. He was Captain America with a Falcon type suit. But, eventually he is going to probably take up the mantle. I don't know. They probably don't want to piss off fans right now. 'Cause I know after Endgame, a lot of fans were pissed off that Captain chose Sam and not Bucky. But it's kind of like, Bucky still's a little messed up in the head from the brainwashing thing. So why would he pick him, And then we get our big first like MCU cameo type thing. And it's Rhodey. Now, he's not War Machine in this. He's just his regular civilian type person. And he's probably not War Machine because the War Machine suit that's been in the MCU since probably like the second movie has been all CGI. And for right now, they don't got the money for that. And so it's like, from what I heard and what I read is that Rhodey is supposed to be Sam's mentor in this, which I kind of have a little bit of a problem with. And okay, here's the thing. Out of all the Avengers that are left over, I guess Rhodey would be the most logical solution to be like a mentor to Sam. They're both military guys, they're both heroes, they're both Avengers. So, they have all that in common. However, my problem is that lately in the MCU, they keep pairing Rhodey and Sam together only because, well, they're both sidekicks to bigger heroes and they're black. Because I remember in Civil War, when, they was fighting over the Sokovia Accords, it was Sam and Rhodey the ones arguing amongst themselves. And then next thing I know, towards the end, when they were having a huge fight between each other, it was War Machine chasing Falcon, and then Vision tried to shoot Falcon with his laser beam, but ended up hitting Rhodey instead. And I'm just like, well, why does War Machine have to like chase Falcon? Couldn't he just like chase somebody else? But I wasn't really thinking back then. But it wasn't until Infinity War when like it was towards the end and everybody was getting dusted. And out comes War Machine from like the bushes and he's like, hey Sam, you okay? And I'm just thinking to myself, out of all the people you fought alongside with, why are you asking is he okay and not like other people? And it was just kind of weird that they kept pairing those two together. And of course, the only reason why they paired them together is because they're black. It's very similar to like in real life situations when like a crime happens and then they send a reporter in, and depending on what kind of like person committed the crime or the witness or the community, they always send somebody of that same race in to like, talk to that person. So that gets kind of annoying. However, like I said before, Rhodey is probably the most logical solution because like pretty much everybody else in the MCU is either old, dead, or off-world right now. So then it cuts from that to this really cool dream sequence of Bucky as the Winter Soldier and his assassination attempt of this Asian man. And it was really good choreography. And this the thing I like about like the Winter Soldier. I wanted to see more in the MCU because this dude who's running from him is an innocent man, and he's trying so desperately to get his key in the door to get away from. Here comes Bucky's slowly coming up, and kills the dude, So then he wakes up, and then we see that he's forced into therapy due to his pardon. And this is the part of the show that starts to get way down by all the dialogue, because after this, it's just nothing but talking, talking, talking. But the talking is good for character development, so I like it for that. I just don't like it because it kind of weighs it down. Similar to how the Arrowverse is and all their talking. All their talking is very fluffy, is very long, and is very dragged out, and is very boring. Similar to how The Walking Dead is now. Like, The Walking Dead used to be so good. But now all people do is stand around or sit around and they talk. And they talk. And they talk. And they talk. And then, oh, look, a zombie might just pop up or might not. Or, hey, this human bad person pops up. And then it's more talking after that. And it's just irritating. The best comic book dialogue, I think, to this day is Daredevil from the Netflix show. That dialogue was very engaging. Like, it was always just like, it always just kept you tense. It was always like moving. It just always like, it never seemed boring. It always seemed like something was feeling the next dialogue, and the next dialogue would feel this one. And it was just like very intense, like dramatic, like dialogue. And that's what I used to love about Netflix Daredevil show. And so, he's telling her what he's been up to, and she tells him, what are the 3 rules that I told you to do, and because he has to make amends to all the people he wronged when he was the Winter Soldier. And he get kind of like cheeky a little bit, like, he's talking about like how he paid this old Hydra person a visit since they disbanded. Which, by the way, when did they disband? I know after Red Skull was taken down in the Captain America movie, they kind of like broke up. But then in not Civil War, but in the Winter Soldier Captain America movie, they revealed that, Hydra is still around. They're just lurking in the shadow, ready to like pounce and stuff. So it's like they haven't like broken up. They're still there. So why did he say they disbanded? Unless it has to do with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I stopped watching that show after the first season, probably like the first 3 episodes or so. I stopped watching it. Maybe something happened there where Hydra, like, disbanded, but supposedly that show is not supposed to be tied into the MCU anymore. So, like, I don't know. But like he said, he's not hurting nobody, but he's keeping tabs on former Hydra people, and he's trying to figure out what they're doing and to make sure they're not doing anything that they're not supposed to be doing. But we also see him interact with this older man that he has befriended, because this older man is getting into like an argument with this younger guy. And it's a really nice touching scene, seeing these two like interact with each other, and it's just like, it shows more of Bucky's humanity, something we haven't seen since the first Captain America movie. Because when it comes to other movies, he's either brainwashed or he's back to normal, but he's feeling guilty, And so as he's talking to this man sets him up on a date, which he does not want to do, but he does anyway. And that was really cool as the older man to do, because the older man is kind of looking at him as kind of like this son type figure, because we later find out that his son died mysteriously. He doesn't know really how. And then you can kind of see where this is starting to go. We see the Winter Soldier kill an Asian man in the past. And this man, misses his son because his son is dead and he doesn't know how. You can probably guess, where this is leading to. And it does. While he's on a date with this girl, I kind of zoned out because it was just kind of like mushy and the dialogue was kind of boring again. And it just weighed it down. And so, next thing you know, he runs out because he's starting to think, oh crap, I think I know who the son is that this man has lost, and I killed the dude. So he runs out from his date in mid-sentence. And the girl's kind of like ticked and shocked. And if I was her, I would never talk to him again. So he goes to the man's house, and it's like he was about to tell him what happened, but then he doesn't, because he's like really worried, and he's worried about this man will get upset. This man is very old. I think he gives the man money, because I think he owes him money for something. Then back and forth from this show, it pops in and out from Sam and his sister talking. Now we find out that Sam has two nephews and a sister, and that his family, his parents have died, and that he's taking over the fishing business, and because they have a boat. And it's like one of those cool things that we see because, like I said, with the Falcon, we don't know anything about this dude backstory. So it was really nice to see that even though he doesn't have a family of his own, he has an extended family and that he loves to death. And him and his sister argue kind of like an old married couple. And they're arguing because she wants to get rid of the business and he wants to keep it because he wants to hold on to his parents. But she's telling him, in that 5 years you were dusted, it's been really hard for her. She's been like struggling, like really hard to like keep the business afloat. Like like she uses a term like saying like she makes $5, but she puts $10 into the business, and she just can't keep doing it. And he's all like, we're not getting rid of this business. We're gonna keep it. And his nephews are cool. Like normally I hate when kids end up in shows like this, especially in the MCU, because in the MCU kids are like very annoying. But these two kids are pretty cool, so I like them. And so we see them at the bank, and they're trying to get a loan. And the dude, and this is one good thing about this show, there's really no comedy. And that's great, because I don't like that in the MCU. We're getting tired of it. And so, like, we're at the bank, and this is the only time we have comedy. Because the bank teller dude, he's like a huge Avenger fan. And he doesn't recognize Sam at first, but then he later does when Sam tells him, oh, the dude fly with wings. And so the bank teller dude's like all like excited. He's fanning out. He's taking selfies. He's asking for this and that. So it's kind of like a nice little comedic moment, but he still denies them like a bank loan. And this is something that's kind of interesting. I like that the bank teller asks, Sam, how do you Avengers like pay for stuff that's like, how do y'all like make money? Because like in the comic book world, you never really think about it unless you're like a billionaire who's a superhero. That's really the only money you're making. Like the superhero, they never really show what the superheroes do. Like they have daytime jobs, because the government doesn't pay for them. So it's kind of nice to see that, we get a little explanation into like, where they get the money from. But one thing that's kind of like weird. Okay, how does the bank teller not know who the Falcon is? Everybody from the first Avengers movie know what all the Avengers look like, and so on and so on. So how do people not know who he is at first glance? Also, the same thing. The old man and the girl he goes on a date with, they don't recognize him as the Winter Soldier. Now, in the Civil War movie, they posted his face all over the news. So you think people would know who like one of the world's greatest assassins is, But nobody like knows, and that's kind of like weird. So I don't get that. But then again, the girl that he's dating is like in her 20s. So chances are maybe she got dusted. Or maybe not. I don't know. And no, maybe she didn't. And then she grew up and then just didn't know who he was. I keep forgetting this is all in the future now. So at some point, we see the military dude that Sam saved from the beginning of the show. And he's trying to infiltrate the flag smashers. And so basically what it is, I guess he gets like a text, telling him to meet in a certain location. And then they start handing him masks. And he asks straight up, like, what am I supposed to do? And so next thing we see is a bank being robbed. And as a cop is about to get killed by one of the flag smashers, he tries to stop them. But this flag smasher person is extremely strong, and they just manhandles the crap out of him and smashes his face in. And then it's kind of like, okay, is this supposed to be the actual flag smasher person that got gender bent? Because if so, this person doesn't look like a female. The body shape is a man, so I don't know. So he calls Sam, he lets him know what happened, and Sam told him to go alone, and he did it alone, and now he sees what happened. Next thing you know, we see Sam and his sister watching the news. And because of this terrorist organization, the U.S. military decides it needs another Captain America. So, as Sam is watching this, he sees in despair that somebody else has taken up the mantle of Captain America. And this person actually does take up the name Captain America. But in the comic books, he takes up the name U.S. Agent. And in the comic books, he's straight up a bad dude. I mean, he does replace Captain America in the comic books, but then it's later revealed that, he's bad. And it's kind of like Sam is like really upset that this dude has been chosen to be Captain America. But why is he upset? I mean, I know Cap's his friend and he cares about him, but he had a chance to be Captain America, so nobody else would have this responsibility. But he chose to give up on it because he felt he wasn't like, the right person for like to take up the mantle. But it's kind of like, dude, you had your chance. You blew it, and now they gave it to somebody else. I have to say, nothing against the actor who plays this new Captain America, but his face looks weird in that mask. He does not look like Chris Evans. He doesn't have that jawline, And then just like that, it ends with no end credit sequence, and it's kind of like, because of all the dialogue that weighed it down, when the show ended, I was like shocked and surprised. I'm like, what, 45 minutes have passed by already? I was like, I couldn't believe it. And it's kind of like, I hope they get more action packed in the next couple of episodes, because this show only has 5 left. It's only a 6-episode season. And, they're hour long, and it's kind of like they have to keep moving faster. They can't go at this slow pace. It was nice that they had the dialogue between the two to show, like, how human they are and a little bit of character development. But hopefully it's just this episode where it drags it down this slow, because, this show has got to pick up. They only got 5 episodes left, and they have to introduce a whole bunch of other characters. Like Sharon Carter, which I hope they explain the whole how she kissed her uncle in the Civil War movie, because that was kind of just like, ew, gross. Because like we didn't know that her and Captain America were niece and uncle. Because we assumed that he was on ice for about 50 years, and then it's revealed that he actually went back in time at the end of Endgame and been living out his life with Peggy. And so chances are he probably did that in the regular timeline too. So yeah, he kissed his niece. Now, younger one didn't know who she was. Just why would the Russos go that whole Star Wars route? Like, I don't get it. But yeah, it's like, they're gonna introduce her. They're gonna introduce Zemo, and I've never really been a fan of his in the MCU. He's kind of boring, but in like the comic books and the cartoons, he's awesome. But yeah, they're supposed to introduce him, and it's just like they have to pick up the pace, and they need to pick it up fast because there's only 5 episodes left. So it'd be nice if they do a little bit of like, human type stuff and personal development type stuff like here and there, but it needs to be an action-packed spy comic book thriller, So I'm hoping they will pick up the pace and not do that whole Arrowverse like slow dialogue crap, and just pick it up like Daredevil style, But yeah, all in all, I think it was a pretty good episode. It could have been a whole lot better if it wasn't weighed down by all that dialogue. But this was just the only first episode, so who knows what the other episodes are gonna be like. But I do hate how all this streaming crap has like 6 to 10 to 13 episodes. I like a good 22 like season run, because you get so much more out of stuff than these teeny tiny little episodes. But but when it comes to episodes that are like only 6 a season, all this filler stuff is unnecessary. They need to just get to the point. But yeah, that was my review. Like I said before, it's a pretty good show. I love the action in the beginning, but like it was just weighed down by the dialogue. But hopefully it will get better. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.